Like I can already feel like you guys are gonna like do cool stuff.
Into the motive.
Just being good to one another.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a good thing here.
The people at the top collaborate, and the people that are at the bottom compete.
Yeah, it resulted in me shooting him.
I was charged with 109 and a 50.
Ultimately, you'll get to where you want to go if you push yourself enough.
I genuinely love this conversation.
I love the Motive Podcast.
Welcome back to the Motive Podcast. I'm your host, Leo Kosuch. Alongside me is my co-host, Kyle Cohen. And joining us today, a very special guest, someone who's amassed over 600,000 followers across social media platforms, a personal trainer, former professional swimmer and amateur boxer, and a cancer and cardiac arrest survivor. Guys, please welcome Shark Strong. Thank you for being here, Shark.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming here. So we talked for a bit off camera here. Obviously, we'll get Kyle up to date here. But so growing up in Ukraine, walk us through it. So obviously, you said you came here at age 20, which I was just saying, like, it's pretty hard for me to imagine, like, just leaving your home country at that age. But walk us through growing up in Ukraine, early life, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I grew up like a very normal kid, you know what I mean? Shy, quiet, insecure. I was a little chubby growing up and shit like that. Swimming was my sport since I was 7 years old. I didn't really choose it. My parents kind of brought me to the swimming club, like I said, when I was 7. Their reason for setting me up for swimming was just they wanted to pick a sport that's relatively low on injury risk and stuff like that, just kind of full body workout, just general health reasons, you know what I mean? They didn't have any plans for me to become a top swimmer or competitive, professional swimmer or anything like that. I just kind of started doing this, met some of my friends through it, right? And just kind of stuck with it because, I was just kind of going with the flow, you know what I mean? I wasn't I wasn't like intrinsically like motivated to pursue like, oh my God, I have passion for this or passion for I was just kind of living my life, and going to school, swimming. Like I said, I met some of my friends in this, in the swimming club where I was training and stuff like that. And after a while, I just kind of figured that I was pretty good at swimming. I think I was like 10 or 11 when I started winning my first like regional competition and stuff like that in Ukraine. And I think I went to my first nationals when I was 14 and I placed second in the nation in my age category, right? And that's when I kind of got hooked, when I actually figured, I can be pretty good at this,
Right.
And that sort of boosted my motivation to train harder. And I ended up doing pretty good. By the time I was 18 years old, I was a multiple-time national champion of Ukraine.
Wow.
I was doing really good. And so swimming was my main focus back then. I didn't see what else I could do. Like it felt to me as though like that's the only thing I know how to do. And I actually am pretty good at it now. So I was like, okay, swimming it is. We keep going. But then, as you mentioned in the intro, I'm a survivor of cardiac arrest. So what happened was one day, I still remember it very clearly like it was yesterday. It was April 15th, 2010, right? I was 18 years old. I wake up in the morning and I go to my practice, right? To my morning practice at 7 a.m. And I feel normal, everything good, just another day in the office type shit.
Right.
I show up to the pool, see my coach, see some of my teammates who I was training with at the time. And, practice starts. We go through the warm-up. Everything's normal. And then It was the time after warm up we had our first working set, which was not a really hard set. But by the time I finished it, I touched the wall, right? I finished the racing part of it. I touched the wall, and I noticed that my heart rate is unusually high. Like I'm uncomfortable, and I just noticed that my heart rate is racing, right? And I looked down at my chest, and I could see like my heart was beating so hard that I could see the chest, like skin on my chest elevating and bumping up and down. Like it almost felt as like my heart is about to rip out of my chest, like that type of stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I look at the clock on the wall. You know how swimming pools have those clocks, and you can like check your heart rate and stuff like this, you know. And normally I would count my heart rate on my neck like this, but intuitively I'm like, okay, like I feel my heart beat and I see this going on, and I put my hand on my heart and I try to count my heart rate, and I can't even count it because it's so fast. What I counted was 34 or 35 in 10 seconds, right? We counted it for 10 seconds, and if your heart rate in 10 seconds is 30, like you're working really, really hard, right? That's how we like figure out whether it's a racing pace or whatnot, right? So anyways, my heart was really high, and I tell my coach, you know, my heart rate is 35 and I don't feel good. He goes, warm down. Which means like swim nice and easy, like 100 meters, try to like slow your heart rate down, breathe deep and stuff like that. And I'm like, listen, I don't really feel like warming down. Something is wrong here. And he goes, no, warm down. And I'm panicking at this point. You know, I know something. I can feel that something is wrong. And I'm having a panic attack. And so I decide to climb out of the pool. And I realize that my coach doesn't want to communicate with me. And he's not on the same page with me. And I climb out of the pool and I look over, and there was another swimming coach working with their swimmers, different team. And I go to her. I knew her, and I approached her and I say, something's wrong with me. Look at me. Look at my chest. And she looks at me and she sees that my shit is like bumping like this. And she goes, whoa, slow, you know, have a seat, try to relax, try to take deep breaths. And I'm like, fuck, like, what do? I don't really feel like sitting down. Something is wrong. I need help, you know? And my mind is racing, and I just have a million thoughts a second. And for whatever reason, one of these thoughts that I catch is maybe I should go in the showers and get in the cold shower. I have no idea why I had that thought, but that's what I decided to act on. So I get up from this bench and I walk to showers, and thank God on my way to showers, I meet this old lady who was a nurse. In Ukraine, it's a little different compared to the United States. In the United States, you'll have a lifeguard on the deck, right? So in Ukraine, we don't have lifeguards, but there's always going to be a nurse in case like somebody got caught or something's going on, you know, somebody's not feeling good. So I met this nurse, and thank God that I met her on my way to showers, because otherwise I would have died. I would have just died in the showers. So I meet her and I just go, help me. And so she put me down. There was this little bench, and I laid down on it. And she starts to like measure my blood pressure and heart rate and stuff like this. She realizes that something is really wrong. She told somebody to call the ambulance, and my teammate climbed out of the pool to check on me, and he found my backpack and found my phone in there and called my parents. And so I'm just laying there on this bench, and eventually my heart stopped. And it's crazy because I remember this lady who was a nurse. I remember her saying that, you know, he has no heart rate and his blood pressure is 0. I remember her saying that.
Really?
So like technically my body was dead. Right. Because my heart rate was 0, my blood pressure was 0, but I was conscious. I remember everything that was happening.
Right then and there at the pool?
Right there and then in the pool, right on the pool deck. And yeah, so what happened is I was actually technically my body was dead for anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. But then ambulance came and they shot me with epinephrine and did something else, which I don't know. And somehow they got me out of that state and my heart started to beat again. And I felt like the blood flow go through my body again. And so I was hospitalized that day. And after they did a bunch of like exams on me and stuff like that, they told me that I have a heart condition, which was genetic. I was born with a heart condition, which I didn't know about. And basically, to explain it in a simple way, there was something in one of my arteries in my heart. There was something that's not supposed to be there, that was genetically like there. I was just born with it. And me working hard and training and pushing my body, my heart rate got elevated, and whatever that was inside of my arteries that's not supposed to be there blocked one of the arteries. And so what happened was my heart, that's when my heart started to like work really hard trying to pump the blood in and out, but one of the ways was completely blocked. And that's what caused my heart to stop eventually. And yeah, so it's called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, this heart condition. Like I said, it's genetic. I think 0.03 people in the world have it. A lot of people don't find out about it because they don't play professional sports or anything like that. Like you can live with it and die when you're old and never find out about it. But for me, it happened that I had to find out that way, Yeah. So going off of that, basically what was next for me is they scheduled the surgery on me to remove that thing out of my heart, right? And a month later, I had that surgery done, and the surgeon who performed the surgery on me said it went well, and they removed it, and they don't think anything like this should happen ever again. However, they do not recommend I continue competitive sports. And so I never got a green light from the doctors to continue my swimming career. And that's what ultimately led me to explore other options. And that's how I came to the United States. That's the long story short, basically.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
What town in Ukraine do you grow up in?
It's called Donetsk. It's on the very eastern side of Ukraine, right?
Okay.
Really, really close to the border with Russia.
Okay. Was it like rough there? Like, what do you say? Like crime and anything like that? Like, what was it like?
Yeah, it was. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 1991, and that's when the Soviet Union fell apart. And that was a very rough time, like racketeering and shit like that. There was a lot of crime.
Okay.
And yeah, it was rough, but I was just kind of living in my bubble, school, swimming school and shit like that. I tried not to get myself in trouble too much growing up. There's been some minor moments, but nothing crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I heard you tell a story about like on another podcast I listened to, like I was telling you, like I think I heard you tell a story about like how your parents' car got robbed or something.
Not robbed. So when the initial invasion happened of Russia into Ukraine in 2014,
Okay.
There were these people who called separatists. So these people were trying to separate the region where I'm from in Ukraine. They were trying to separate it from Ukraine, and those guys were basically paid to, run their shit there the way they want to. And that's when the first initial like conflict between Russia and Ukraine started. So that's when the whole shooting started and shit like that. and so these guys were like stealing a lot of cars, you know.
Okay.
And my dad at the time had like a big black SUV, and they loved those type of cars. They needed SUVs
Okay.
and blacked out tinted windows and shit like that. And so one day my dad was coming home from work, and my dad was an orthopedic surgeon in Ukraine. And so that's when the whole war initially started, right? And so he was performing surgeries on the guys who were getting shot and shit like that. And so one day my mom was hanging out with him at work, and after he finished work, they were driving home from his work on their way to their house, and they noticed that there's a car going after them, and a guy waving out of the car trying to get them to pull over, right? And my dad didn't want to stop, and they tried to escape, but they couldn't. And so those guys, there were like, I think there was 4 guys in that car. They pulled my parents out of their car, and I don't know what was said because I wasn't there, but I know for a fact that my dad was beaten up, and they put handcuffs behind his back. And when he had handcuffs on, they were like kicking him on the ground and shit like that, telling him that they were gonna kill him. My mom was like yelling, trying to get him to stop, and they said that if she doesn't shut up, they're gonna cut her tongue out. Yeah, man. So that's what happened. But I think at the end they let him go, and we think that they let him go because my mom told them that my dad is a surgeon helping these guys who are
Right.
at war.
Yeah.
And she was like, one day soon, one of you motherfuckers might be in the hospital, and he's gonna be the one to save your life.
Yeah.
So that's what was my mom tried to communicate that to them, and they made some phone calls. I don't know who they called, but we think that that's what saved my parents' life, because my mom said that and they let him go.
It's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have family over there still at all, or?
I have an aunt and a cousin who live in Ukraine, but they moved to the safest part of Ukraine, which is a very western part of Ukraine,
Okay.
right on the border with Poland.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have a big family. I'm the only child. My grandparents all passed before this whole shit started. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where was your so getting back to the cardiac arrest, where would you say like your mind was at such a young age after that? Were you like a lot more appreciative of life like after that? Like was it
100%.
like an overnight kind of thing?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that a lot of people who go through something like this end up on the other side,
Right.
and for some reason, God had a different plan for me, you know what I mean? And I am definitely more appreciative of life and just day-to-day normality, you know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
Just there's no such thing as regular day for me no more, because regular day is priceless. I could have died back then when I was 18, but I'm still here. My story could have ended right there, and that's
Yeah.
it. We would have never met. I would have never met a lot of other people, and I
Yeah.
would have never had my son and my family, and like I would have never done all these things. I would have never come to the United States and did what I did here, like never learned English. You know what I mean? So like there's no such thing as a regular day anymore. Like every day is priceless. Every day is a gift. Every day is precious, and we should never even when. And don't get me wrong, I have bad days sometimes, just like everybody
Right.
else. Sometimes I'm in a shitty mood. Sometimes, for whatever reason, shit doesn't go the way I want to, and I get frustrated or sad or whatever, But no matter what, I try not to lose the sense of gratitude, because I know, like, I could have been dead a long time ago, but I'm still here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you mentioned, well, so before we move on, so like becoming like a national champion in Ukraine for swimming, like what was your training like schedule like how many days a week were you in the pool?
6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 practices per day, Saturday 1 practice a day, Sunday rest.
Okay.
Repeat.
Wow. Yeah. And then you mentioned boxing. Is like boxing big over there at all? Like, cause I know like kind of the Eastern European boxing thing is big, right?
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. Ukraine is pretty passionate about boxing. We have some really successful professional boxers. I don't know if you guys follow any of professional boxing, but like right now the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world is Ukrainian. His name is Alexander Usyk.
Okay.
And
sounds familiar.
He's a badass, and according to many prestigious like media and boxing magazines and stuff like this, he's ranked #1 pound for pound, which means
Wow.
he's the best boxer in the world.
You said he was heavyweight?
Heavyweight.
Okay.
Yeah. He just had a second fight with Tyson Fury, who's like probably one of the biggest names in
Right.
boxing,
Yep.
and he beat him twice, and what he did in the sport of boxing is like he achieved everything there is to achieve. He's an Olympic champion, so he was the best in amateurs in the world, right? He's a world champion in amateurs. He's a European champion in amateurs. He's Olympic champion in amateurs. Then he goes to professionals, and he was initially a cruiserweight, fighting in the weight class which is under 199 or under, and he became an undisputed champion in that weight division. You guys know what undisputed means?
It's like
So there's 4 major belts in boxing, right? In boxing, it's kind of weird. Like, I wish it was like UFC type stuff. In UFC, like MMA, right?
Right,
UFC
yeah.
is the biggest organization,
Yep.
and there's 1 champion in each weight class.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wish it was like this, but it's not like this in boxing. In boxing, there's 4 belts. In each weight division, there could be 4 different champions holding a belt.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so when the guy collects all 4 belts, they call him undisputed. That's
Gotcha.
like, you're the baddest motherfucker in that weight class, you know? So he became undisputed in the cruiserweight, beat everybody, wiped the division out, beat everybody, went up to heavyweight, and became undisputed there.
Wow. Yeah.
So like there's nothing else left for him to achieve, it's crazy. So yeah, boxing is pretty big in Ukraine. And I don't know what you were going to ask going off of that, but actually growing up, I did ask my parents at some point to sign me up for boxing. But they would always say no. Like I've asked them
Okay.
multiple times, but my parents were just against it. They were like, this is a violent sport, and there's like high risk of brain trauma and stuff like this, which I don't blame them for this. But yeah, growing up, they didn't allow me to start
Right.
boxing in Ukraine.
What do you think about when you look at like the fights happening now between like the influencers, like the Logan Paul Tyson fight? Like what do you think when you see that? Do you think it's good for the sport or horrible for the sport?
So I think at the end of the day, it is good for the sport because it attracts more eyes. People who wouldn't otherwise watch boxing.
Yep.
So I think it is good for the sport. And what Jake Paul and Logan Paul and all these guys doing, who am I to judge? Like, they're young and they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So if I were to sit here and judge that, like, I would be just a hypocrite, because
Right.
there's this saying, if it makes money, it makes sense, and they make a lot of money. And people who are hating on them, I think they're just jealous, because like I said, these guys are still in their 20s. What, Jake Paul is 28, I think, or
so.
something like this,
Yeah.
and he's
Which
a
is insane.
multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a place for that to be. And I mean, we live in 2025 now, and this is the direction where the sport of boxing is moving, and so be it. Who am I to judge it?
I guess the other, side of that is, who cares about the money? Just like, what about the product of the sport itself? Like, how good is like the actual fights, and like like the Mike Tyson era? I feel like people would say that was a good era of boxing. I don't know much about boxing at all, but
Yeah.
I would just say, like, I felt like, me being someone who isn't a boxing fan, watching, like Mike Tyson like now fight Jake Paul, I was kind of disappointed, because I wanted to see like the sport look, I guess, more legit than it did in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like,
I
because
understand.
I feel like there's
It seemed a little gimmicky.
right.
I
and
understand what
boxing's
you're
not
saying.
a gimmick. So
I understand what you're saying 100%. Like, from the sport perspective, that was not like a legit type fight. I mean, Mike Tyson is almost 60 years old, and he's sick. He has a lot of health problems, but he made a lot of money, and he needed that money, so like, thank God he didn't get hurt. And a lot of people found this thing entertaining, so I watched the fight. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Mike Tyson is my favorite boxer of all time. I have a
Oh, yeah.
tattoo of Mike Tyson.
Okay.
And Mike Tyson was the biggest inspiration for me to get into it. Like, I had a poster of him on my wall growing up and shit like that.
Like in Ukraine?
So I didn't like seeing Mike Tyson lose to Jake Paul
Yeah.
by any means, So it is kind of sad and fucked up and weird. But at the end of the day, Mike Tyson wanted it. He got out of it healthy. He made a lot of money. Good for him.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was big even in Ukraine, like Mike Tyson and
Yeah, for
Would you-
sure.
Would you say like American culture was like was still like relevant in Ukraine?
100%.
Okay.
Everybody watches movies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Hollywood movies, like, people watch it from
Yeah.
all over the world,
Yeah.
Like, I grew up watching Rocky and shit
Oh,
like
yeah.
that,
That's my favorite movie of all time.
you
I
know.
think.
So of course, yeah,
Living
I have a
in
Rocky tattoo too,
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So you moved here in 2011. You got a scholarship from Westchester University for swimming. Swam for them.
Mhm.
How was your time swimming for Westchester?
Amazing, absolutely great. 10
I saw you were like all American.
yeah,
Wait, can I ask something real quick before you continue?
yeah.
You said the doctors did not recommend that you swim anymore, but you used to, or was it after the surgery that it was healthy for you to do?
Yeah, so no, even after surgery, they didn't give me a green light, and that's what actually made me to come to the United States, because nobody in Ukraine, everybody was aware. Like, I was a national champion who just got a cardiac arrest in
Wow.
practice, so no coaches wanted to work with me no more, because
They
I
don't wanna be
couldn't get
responsible.
they didn't want to take responsibility,
Yeah.
because doctors told me they can't give me a green light, so it would be, I get it, like, no coaches wanted to work with me, so I had to, that's when I decided that I'm going to try to come to the United States, but obviously I had to lie, in all, like, every year as a NCAA athlete, you have to go through get the physical done, you have to get your medical report and shit like this filled out, and I would always check out the box that when it comes to, did you have any heart problems? No. I would always check the box, no. So I had to lie about it, and but I had to take that risk because I didn't see any other way. I couldn't, like, I didn't want to stay in Ukraine, and I didn't want to not be an athlete no more. And so that was the only path that I saw, and I decided to go for it, and ultimately paid off because after coming to United States, you know, although I lied about, you know, not having any health problems in the past, thankfully everything went great. I worked harder than I ever did training here, and I ended up swimming way faster here. I ended up improving all my results in swimming, taking them to another level here compared to how I swam in Ukraine. You know what I mean? So yeah, I had to take that risk, but it paid off.
That's cool. Did you win anything here?
Say what?
Did you win anything here swimming at Westchester? Like win any I don't know national
yeah.
championships
So Westchester University is in the conference called PSAC, Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. So I was a breaststroker. Breaststroke was my event, 100 and 200 breaststroke, and 100 breaststroke I won 4 years in a row, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. 200 breaststroke I won my freshman and junior year, and I was a Pennsylvania Athletic State Conference champion, basically 4 years in a row. And like Leo said, I placed sixth in the nation my junior year.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that's crazy. I remember I've been in that Westchester pool, like the what do you call it? Like just all the.
Yeah, it's called Graham Natatorium or whatever. Yeah.
I took like a lot of kids around here. Like I took swimming lessons there when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Like they teach swimming lessons during summer.
I used to teach swim lessons there.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like traumatic experience. For
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so funny. But no, I just remember
a lot of
funny.
kids cry because they're scared of water and shit like that. I get it.
I remember at the end of the week, you'd jump off the diving board and you get candy from your instructor. But so school overall, like how did you adapt? Like being here in the States, like how was school? How was Westchester? Like what was new? Like everything like that.
Everything was new, right? So so can you imagine? I fly in the Philly airport, right? I'm 20 years old, and I maybe know 20 words in English. And my coach, the head coach of WCU Swimming, met me at the airport, right? And he meets me and like he's like, yeah, what's up? Like throw your bags in the trunk of my car and stuff like this. And on our ride from Philly airport to Westchester, he tries to engage in a conversation with me, right? Ask me questions and shit like this, and I'm just sitting there like an idiot because I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's asking. I couldn't speak English, man. So how I would describe initially when I came to the United States, like I was ecstatic. I was happy that I was here. But at the same time, I was afraid, like I was scared to death, because I had a lot of responsibilities. I had to be a student, right? And not to fuck up school with maybe 20 words that I know in English, right? Somehow I had to pass my classes and not get kicked out of school for bad grades. And on top of that, we had 2 practices per day, every day. So I was a full-time student athlete, Yep. So I definitely, although, like I said, I was really happy about being here. Like I felt like a dream come true. It felt surreal. It felt like a movie. But at the same time, I was very scared. Like I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of getting kicked out of school. I was afraid of not performing well because I didn't know how my heart and how my body's going to respond to all this intense training. You know what I mean? And all these things like I had to work through. And yeah.
How long did it take you to pick up the language?
I would say by the end of my freshman year, I could hold a decent conversation. Like it would be very broken English. Like I could... if you guys want, and I don't know if you wanna include this in your podcast episode, I can send you a video where right after PSAX, I just won 100 and 200 breaststroke, and this guy did an interview with me, and he asked me these like general questions. How does it feel about being a part of the team that won the championship, blah, blah, blah.
In the 200 breaststroke. Bogdan, what does it feel like to win 2 events at your first PSAX?
It's awesome, man. I still can't believe it. It's something unbelievable.
Days ago, she pulled it up because she saw it on Facebook, and we just laughed. But you could understand me. Like I could kind of like if you guys want, I will send that video to you guys so you can assess how my English was back then. So that was like 7 months into it. 7 months after being in the United States.
Yeah, what do you say? Like, was it like easier than you thought to learn? Did you just pick it up in like everyday conversation, like, or did you work on it? Did you study it? Like, how did you pick it up?
It wasn't easy, but I think the way that I learned is the most efficient and quickest way. Like, if you think about it, when babies are born, they don't speak no languages. They don't understand any languages. By just growing up and being in the environment where everybody speaks a certain language, this what boosted my progress and my learning rate, because I had nobody to speak languages that I knew too. Like I know Russian and Ukrainian, but I had nobody to speak those languages too. I was the only international kid on the team. Everybody was American. I was the only international kid. After me, there were a couple other international kids. Westchester started to give scholarships to other international swimmers, but I was the first international swimmer for many years.
Wow.
So yeah, I feel like I wouldn't say it was easy, but like I was just surrounded in that environment. Just being surrounded in the English speaking environment definitely accelerated my learning process, you know.
So at Westchester you got a bachelor's in athletic coaching
and professional education.
Okay. And you graduated in, was it like 4 years, like 2015?
No, it took me 5.5 years to graduate.
So what year did you graduate?
2016.
Okay. So where were you at, like, when you left college? Like, where did you see, like, your career going and all that?
Yeah, so after I finished swimming, that's when I got into boxing. And I didn't have any goals as far as, like, becoming a boxer, a professional, or making a career out of it. I just, I had a passion for it, and I wanted to get good at it. It's just something that I was really attracted to, something that I had interest for, and I was like, I had that burning desire just to learn boxing. And because like it's not just about boxing, like, oh, I know how to fight, I can beat somebody's ass, it's not about that. It's just like you said, growing up watching Rocky movies, like I love those boxing movies, the whole vibe, like when I train, it's like a meditative process almost for me. It's like therapeutic. I feel very present. I enjoy what I do. I feel like I said, in the moment. It's not just physical practice for me. It's a lot of it is like mental and spiritual as well. And so when I graduated, I was like, I'm gonna go all in on boxing and box, and so I got into I boxed amateur for a couple of years. I got one fight under my belt. I was traveling all around like eastern Pennsylvania and Jersey for sparring. I would go to Philly some weeks, to Lancaster, to West Grove, to all these gyms to spar different guys and just get experience. And it was good. It was tough, but it was good. Unfortunately, that was like the tough time in my life. I was pretty depressed. That's when the initial, that was already a year or 2 years after Russia first invaded Ukraine. So there was war in my home country, and my parents just immigrated to the United States, and it was like a stressful situation for them. And you know, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she worked in Canada, so we were in a long distance relationship, and I was like constantly missing her and shit like that, feeling lonely. And like I was really into boxing, but I started at 20 years old, you know, that's late. And I would go to these gyms in Philly and West Grove and all these places, and I would spar with guys who started boxing when they were 4 years old or 6 years old.
Yeah.
And boxing culture, amateur boxing culture, competitive boxing culture here is no joke. You know, like a lot of times I would walk in these gyms and, you know, shit's not friendly. You know, I would be the only white kid in the gym, and people who you spar with, they don't say hello to you, they don't shake your hand, they don't touch gloves, they don't give a fuck about what your name is or what you're going through. You're just a body in front of them, and you're, you know, that's it. Like it's like crazy. Sparring sessions in this area, it's like, it's for real. It's like every sparring session is like a fight. So I got my ass beat a lot. I was concussed multiple times, had broken ribs, but I was just like powering through it. I was like, I ain't no bitch, you know, I'm not a pussy, I'm not gonna back down, you know. But that I just dug myself a deeper hole, because going through that, you know, war in Ukraine, long distance relationship with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, like I said, and on top of it, I was just feeling depressed, and I was cutting weight. And at the time, my knowledge about nutrition was terrible. I didn't know much, not nearly as much as I do now. Like shit that I did then, like I would just go on the crazy restrictive diet, very low calorie. Like I would eat 1,000 to 1,200 calories per day, running 5 miles a day, doing jump rope, shadow boxing, bag work, and spar. All of this, and eat, like I said, 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day of not healthiest foods either. Like I would fast entire day and then come home and order fucking boneless buffalo wings or some shit and eat only that, and that's it. And I was just starving myself, and like ended up developing an eating disorder. So yeah, it was rough, man. Sorry, I kind of went on the rant. I forgot your question.
We were just talking about boxing and just where you were at after college. But yeah, I mean that explains a lot of
that.
That
kind of paints the picture, right? So
then,
yeah, go ahead.
So then I don't know if this is jumping too forward. So then in October 19, you got diagnosed with cancer, right?
Yeah, that's jumping. That's a pretty big jump forward. But yes, October 2019. That's when. So let me briefly wrap it up, right? So, I was boxing, and I just graduated college, but didn't know what to do. I coached swimming club, and I taught swim lessons for little kids. That's what I did at the time for work. And let me tell you the story, because I think this is an important piece, right? So one day I come back from home from sparring, right? And it was a rough day. I sparred this Mexican kid, and it was pretty close, but I took most of the beating, most of the damage. I just remember I come back home, my whole fucking face is swollen. I got a black eye, this bruise and shit. And anyways, I decided to smoke some weed, right? And at the time I was smoking weed because I was just at the time I felt like it was helping me with I was depressed, like I mentioned, that I feel like weed was helping me to sort of decompress and just relax and, you know, not be in the darkness inside of my head, you know. So I smoked some weed, and I I just hit this ball, and I go in the bathroom. I use the bathroom, turn around, wash my hands, and I look at myself in the mirror, right? And I noticed that my eyes are like red and like half closed. And I remember I sort of laughed at myself. I was like, and I threw a couple punches, shadow boxing in front of the mirror. And so I turn around, and as I walk out of a bathroom, I start to lose balance. I'm not gonna go into crazy detail, but what happened is I had a stroke, and the entire right side of my body went numb. Somehow I managed to climb on my bed, and somehow I managed to FaceTime my wife, and it was like 11 p.m. at night. And my wife was sleeping in Canada because she was working in Canada, right? Thank God she picked up the phone, and she got on the phone with me. And so she's like, I need to call your parents, because I was living with my parents at the time. She's like, we need to call your parents. And I'm like, don't call my parents, because I was tripping, because I was like, this is some kind of side effect of weed. I thought it was some kind of side effect of weed. I didn't know it was a stroke. I didn't know what stroke is. I didn't know what stroke symptoms is like. But I'm laying there with my whole right side of my body numb, and even my eyes like closed, and my lips are like this, So it was like crazy. So I convinced my wife not to call my parents because I was tripping, because they would find out that I was high on weed. And weed for my parents is like as hard of a drug as heroin or whatever. Right. We're from Ukraine. In Ukraine, weed is a drug as hard as any other drugs, So anyways, I was just FaceTiming my wife, and I don't know what the fuck happened. Oh, somehow I managed to drink some water or something. I grabbed I had like a gallon of water next to my bed, and I took my left arm, the phone was like this and against the pillow, took my left arm, grabbed the water, took a sip. I don't know what happened. Somehow I felt the blood started to flow again in my right side of the body. So I was like, yo, I think I'm feeling better, And she's FaceTiming this whole time with me, and she's like, okay, try to move. And I started to move my fingers and stuff like this, and I tried to stand up, and I ended up standing up, although I was feeling weak. I went to the kitchen, and I just opened the fridge, and I think I know why it happened, because I was just depriving myself of nutrients. Like I said, I was in a crazy restrictive diet, eating once a day, not healthy food.
And you're saying that's why you got a stroke?
I think so, because I was not taking any vitamins, not any minerals, not drinking electrolytes. I was just drinking water and eating one meal a day of unhealthy food and crazy restrictive calories, right?
Could it also have been from like boxing, like getting like head trauma? Do you think? Could be. I don't know. Or a mix of the two, maybe. Mix of the two, and it's also important to mention that, like Leo he was about to jump to talk about my cancer. I was diagnosed in 2019 at the late stage. My first cancer symptoms started junior year college. So at the time, I already had cancer. I just didn't know about it.
Interesting.
I had cancers, like my first cancer symptoms started junior year college, which was 2014, 2015.
What were those?
The very first symptom was itchy skin. And I had these irritations on my skin. A lot of it was on my forearms and ankles. And it would itch so much that I would like scratch myself till I was bleeding, like especially at night. Another symptom was night sweats. Like occasionally I would wake up in the middle of the night sweating like I just came out of sauna. Like entire mattress underneath me would be soaked in my sweat.
Okay.
So that was another symptom. I can talk about them more. So again, I was just, going through all this. Anyways, thankfully, it was a mini stroke or whatever. I survived it. Everything, my shit started to function again. But that was the turning point for my wife. She was like, I fucking quit this job in Canada and I'm moving to the United States to be with you, and we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do next. So that's what happened. She moved from Canada to here, and probably a few months after she moved here, we decided to move to LA. Okay, and we moved to LA, and yeah, I got a job at this boxing gym, boxing for fitness, not competitive boxing, boxing for fitness, training people for workouts, for fitness. And I was working as a personal trainer there. Thankfully, my degree from college was aligned with that. But on top of it, I also got my personal trainer certification. And yeah, so let me come back to your question. 2019. So we moved to LA in 2017.
Where in LA were you living?
Santa Monica for 3 years, and then Marina Del Rey for 4 years.
Okay.
So, like I said, we moved to LA in 2017. Life was beautiful. I got out of depression. Shit was just going up and great. Me and my wife were finally reunited after a long time being apart in a distance relationship. It felt like we were living the dream. We had a small apartment, but it was cute. We lived really close to the ocean, really close to Santa Monica Pier, to Venice Beach, to all these like beautiful places in LA. I loved the gym where I worked at. The team, people who I worked with was great. The whole culture and the community and the gym was great. But then my skin, night sweats are not going away, and other symptoms started to appear. And another symptom is I started to feel tightness inside of my back and my chest, and gradually that tightness grew into pain. And the kind of pain that in 2019, like right before I got diagnosed, I couldn't sleep laying down. Like I couldn't just get horizontal because I was in a lot of pain. So I was sleeping in the chair, sitting up. And so I went to the urgent care doctor. So there was my skin, there was night sweats, there was pain, and I also most recently I noticed the lumps on my neck. And so I go to the urgent care doctor and I say, look, these are the symptoms that are bothering me. What's going on, And he goes, skin is dermatitis. I've been seeing doctors and they would tell me the same shit, I've seen multiple doctors about my skin issue, and they would tell me, oh, it's eczema or it's dermatitis, or you need to change your fucking soap or whatever, and they would prescribe me all this bullshit that didn't help for obvious reasons, right? So he says the same thing about the skin. He says it's dermatitis. He'll prescribe me cream. He says the pain in your back is the injury, so you should take it easy on training. He goes, night sweats, I am not sure, but what really concerns me is the lump on your neck. And he goes, I think it's somehow related to your heart. And I'm like, what? Because I told him, he asked me if I had any heart history, and I told him about cardiac arrest and all that. And he's like, yeah, I think it's somehow related to your heart. And he referred me to see cardiologist. Anyways, long story short, I go to see cardiologist. Cardiologist checks me out, says, I don't think anything's wrong with your heart, but let me do an x-ray, And he does an x-ray. I go home. 2 days later, I get a call. He says, it's very urgent. I need to see you as soon as possible. You need to come to my office as soon as possible. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this about? So I cancel all my clients for the day. I call my bosses at the gym and tell them to find me a substitute to teach my classes. And my wife and I would go to the UCLA hospital. And I remember like it was yesterday. We sit on this couch right in front of the office, like waiting room or whatever. And she holds my hand. And she goes, "Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay." And I say, "Yeah, everything's gonna be okay as long as it's not cancer." And the doc comes out, goes like this. Come in. We walk into this office, and he goes like, he tries to go like smoothly, carefully. I'm like, "Doc, what the fuck? Like, tell me what's going on?" He goes, "You have cancer, lymphoma." And I'm like, whoa. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm 28 years old, been an athlete my entire life, never did drugs, always tried to take best care of myself, you know. I was like, why me? But yeah, that's how I find out. I can talk about the next things, but
Can I ask what lymphoma is exactly first?
it's a cancer of your lymphatic system.
Okay.
Right. So you know we have lymph nodes, right, located throughout our body. So I had tumors on my lymph nodes in my neck, chest, and stomach.
Okay. So it was definitely spread, and it was pretty.
It was
advanced.
spread. It was spread.
Were you definitely, scared and nervous at like your initial reaction?
Of course, yeah. 3 years prior being diagnosed, my swimming coach died to cancer, and he had 2 little kids. He was in his 40s.
Yeah.
And I watched him battle, and I watched him lose his life. And I've known other people who lost their life to cancer. So it was like, I was realizing that, here I am again, facing death. And I'm only 28. So it was scary. But, so let me tell you about the initial reaction, right? So he tells us, and my wife and I were both in shock, right? And we're like, okay, what the fuck do we do? Because I didn't have any insurance. I didn't have health insurance. And he's like, okay, you guys gonna go to the emergency room and you're gonna tell your symptoms. You're gonna tell them that you had this x-ray and shit like this. And right there in the emergency room, you can apply for Medi-Cal, which is like a government type, health insurance. We're like, okay. So we walk out of the office, me and my wife, we hold hands, we don't say nothing to each other. We'll walk into the elevator, don't say nothing to each other, just silent. Drive down to the parking garage, walk out of the elevator, walk into the parking garage. We embrace each other and start crying. And we just cried on each other's shoulders for like 2 minutes. And then, literally after 2 minutes of crying, we wipe off the tears, and I just say, listen, if somebody else beat cancer, why can't I do it? That's it. That was my mindset. I was like, fuck, like, I'm gonna research the shit out of it. I'm gonna find out what are the strategies I can implement to maximize my chances in this fight, and I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that was the mindset that I selected. And I kept that mindset moving forward. And October 2019, I got diagnosed at the late stage, and I was pretty fucked up. Like I could have died any moment at that point. But January 2020, I was in full remission. There was no signs of cancer left.
Wow. Okay.
So what treatment was it was it at that point? Is it radiation or what is it?
I did chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy. Okay.
Yeah. Which definitely played a big role, no doubt about it. But I've also implemented strategies of my own to maximize my chances. One of them being prolonged fasting, specifically around chemotherapy. I did a lot of research on this shit. So basically, like, if you do prolonged fasting around chemotherapy, you can strengthen your healthy cells and you can weaken the cancer cells, because cancer cells is what's called metabolically active cell, which means they depend on food coming in, you know, whereas your healthy cells can feed off body fat and other things inside of your body, break down other tissues to feed off of.
Is
right?
this well accepted? Like
It's very well researched. It's very well researched. You can look up Dr. Walter Longo. He's the biggest expert when it comes to this type of research in the world. He's from Italy, but he's actually a professor at USC, and he's done many studies on this, on mice, on yeast, and now many people have tried these strategies as well. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And I believe that helped me a lot. So basically, like I said, if you implement this strategy, if you go into chemotherapy fasted, you fast through chemo, and after, you can maximize the chances of survival of your healthy cells, but at the same time, you weaken the cancer cells so that chemotherapy kills more cancer cells, because chemotherapy is poison. It doesn't differentiate between healthy and cancer cells. It can kill both. And a lot of people who fight cancer actually don't die because of cancer. They die because of chemo. You know, a lot of people die due to chemotherapy related side effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially like later, like obviously there's effects later down the line too, even if you beat cancer with chemo, I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
my oncologist told, like, you, there's a whole bunch of things they tell you, like my oncologist told me you may never have kids and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. My mom was in chemo and she like did like she kept her hair though. Like there's like this thing called like cold capping. I don't know if you know. And like it's like after chemo treatment she'd put like this cap like over her head. It was like dry ice for like hours. And like it's like it's not like a super high success rate, but she was able to like keep her hair, which is good. When she did it.
Is that a permanent loss of hair that like after chemotherapy or
no?
No.
Okay.
Well, technically there's a chance it may not grow back full. Okay. But most people after they lose their hair, and then once they stop, it grows back. Yeah. I didn't really care about it because I was shaving my head for a long time. Yeah. But I remember tripping out because I lost my eyebrows, and I like eyebrows and eyelashes, and I just looked. I don't know. I looked ugly. Not that I'm fucking handsome or whatever. I just losing my eyebrows for whatever reason just got me fucked up. I don't know.
There was a kid on my soccer team once who just shaved his eyebrows one day. It was a very interesting decision. But.
Bro, I would not do it. I would not do it for money or nothing.
And I saw I think I saw another thing you talked about was like mushrooms, like maximizing your chances of survival.
Yeah, so there's a specific mushroom called turkey tail mushroom. I learned about that so when I got diagnosed, all these people started sending me the research, like different articles and shit like this. Because like I said, I was willing to research whatever, right? I was like, whatever can help me in my battle with cancer to maximize my chances, I'm going to open up my mind and do whatever, you know? So yeah, fasting was definitely the biggest thing. But I also learned some people started to send me research about this turkey tail mushroom. So there's this guy, his name is Paul Stamets.
Yeah,
he was actually on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple
I've seen
times.
Clips from him.
Yeah, he's the biggest mycologist in the world.
What is that? I'm sorry.
Mycologist is a person who researches mushrooms.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He did a Netflix documentary on mushrooms called Fantastic Fungi or Fungi, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, fungi.
Anyway, so he knows fucking everything about mushrooms, right? And I found a clip of him on YouTube where he shared his mom's story. She was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer in her 70s, and doctors gave her a couple months left to live. But again, long story short, she did radiation and whatever, she took whatever drug, but she also took this turkey tail mushroom supplement every day, and that lady is still alive.
Wow.
So I was like, there's some to it, so I'm gonna implement this strategy as well. So fasting, turkey tail mushroom, meditation was another one that I got into when I was diagnosed with cancer. I started meditating, and yeah, all those things definitely help.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because I think one of the most, crucial things to survival in that kind of condition is your neuro, like your brain, like how your mindset, and like I forget what the word is exactly, but like basically if you believe that you can beat it and you can be healthy again, it's like
you manifest
really,
that.
100%.
It's actually really, really powerful.
100%. Placebo effect is real.
Yeah.
Placebo effect is the realest shit, bro. What's that quote? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah, you're often both right. Yeah.
And like I'm into fitness, right? And I was listening. There's this guy. His name is Lane Norton. He's a PhD in nutritional science, and he's a world record holder in powerlifting, right? So he's into working out, but he's also a legit PhD doctor, right? And I was listening to one of the podcasts with him, and he was telling about this study where there were 4 groups, right? And one group they were given steroids, telling them they were giving them steroids. One group they were given placebo pill, sugar pill, but were telling them they were giving them steroids. Third group, they were telling them they're giving them multivitamin or some shit or placebo pill, right? But they gave them actual steroids, right? And the last group, they told them they gave them multivitamin, and they got them multivitamin. And so the results of the study was that the group that thought they were getting steroids but were not getting steroids, was getting placebo pill, sugar pill or whatever, grew as just as much muscle as the group that took steroids.
Wow.
It's crazy.
People thinking that they were getting steroids which will maximize their muscle growth or whatever.
Yeah.
Them thinking and believing that they're getting something that will help them build muscle and shit like that, maximize their potential and muscle growth, although they were not getting the thing. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Yeah.
Especially because like steroids is like even more like concrete, where it's like you can tell kind of when somebody like has steroids or not. And it's like, it's not like is steroids work or not? Like no, steroids definitely work.
Yeah. I wish I could cite this study, but I'm sure if you look up in Google or something like this, again, the guy's name is Lane Norton, and he told this story on one of the podcasts, and I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Just tells you how powerful brain is, and just like what you believe is real, man.
Yep. So like the last day that you were cancer free, do you remember that day like it was yesterday?
When I found out that I'm cancer free?
Yeah. Walk us through that.
Yeah.
And how did it feel? Everything.
Funny story. That morning I wake up and I know I have a check-in with my oncologist, right? Because we did 4 rounds of chemo at that point, and I did a CT scan, right? CT scan is when you lay in this machine and they scan your body, and which ultimately then radiologists review it and they tell you, is there any progress or what? And so I knew that day I was going to meet with my oncologist, and she was going to tell me the results of the CT scan, right? And I wake up and I see the message on my phone, and it's a message from my buddy in Ukraine, and he sent me a little video message with him and Alexander Usyk, that boxer that I told you guys about, the baddest boxer in the world right now, fucking undisputed heavyweight champion. So it's my buddy and this boxer, Alexander Usyk. They shot a little video of like encouragement and stuff like this, wishing me luck in my fight with cancer, right? And so that day started on the beautiful note because I see that video and I was like, wow, this is so dope. I posted on my Instagram. And then I go to see my oncologist for a check-in. And yeah, she told me that the results of a CT scan came back, and she goes, you're in complete response. I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, well, that basically means you're in full remission. I'm like, does that mean there's no cancer? She's like, yeah. I'm like, fuck yeah. You know, I gave her a big hug, and yeah, it was amazing. And yeah, like I was just like, wow, like it happened so quickly, because like October I get diagnosed, I feel like shit, you know, and then November, December, right? October, I believe end of October I started my treatment, so November, December, and then January, beginning of January, I'm cancer free.
Yeah,
it's like a miracle, right? But I knew, it just hit me that, you know, all these strategies that I've implemented boosted my progress, boosted my chances. Because I mentioned prolonged fasting, but at that point I did 4 rounds of chemo and I was fasting for 4 days. I would not eat anything for 4 days around chemo. I would fast for 2 days before chemo, the day off and the day after, and then the next day I would break my fast. But yeah, you know, I was happy, and I knew, like, even at this point, like from that moment going forward, I was like, you know, even if cancer comes back, I have no doubt I will fucking beat it again. Like, I'm just so confident. Like, I'm just so confident in myself and the power of mind, the power of like intentional things that you can do to fucking change whatever situation that is. And if that's your health, you can improve your health, man. If you're sick, you can get healthy. You know, if you're unfit, you can get fit. If you're broke, you can get wealthy. You know, whatever 100%. The fuck your situation is, with the proper mindset and actions behind that mindset, you can get anywhere you want.
Without a doubt, totally agree. I mentioned earlier your tattoos. Could you walk us through like your tattoos? Anything like in specific? Anything like, you know, like the meaning behind anything?
Yeah.
Anything you want to touch on?
Yeah, for sure. So I got my first tattoo when I was 15, and it was a shark on my chest. Because, again, self-explanatory, shark, you know, like it's a nickname that I chose for myself, you know?
Yeah.
Is there no laws in Ukraine for tattoos? Just out of curiosity. Like, can you get a tattoo at any age? Or used to, like,
so, I don't know if you go to like a tattoo shop, if there's like an age restriction. But I found this tattoo artist who was a really good tattoo artist, and he was like he was driving around to people's homes and tattooing you in your, like, I got tattooed in my bedroom basically, you know, my first tattoo, and it was a really good quality tattoo. Like, ever since I got it, I didn't do a touch up or anything on it, and it still looks great, you know. So yeah.
So what's your? Can you pronounce your full name? Like, say it for us. What's
Bogdan Gribenyuk. Bogdan, first name, Gribenyuk, last name.
Okay. So where did you get shark from?
Like I said, I chose it because I was a swimmer, you know, and I was like, this is a line. If I'm a swimmer, like, you know, I'm gonna be a shark. Because Ukraine, it's a weird country. Like, it's pretty common for kids to give each other nicknames growing up, you know, and normally they're not badass nicknames. They're like funny nicknames, you know, like whatever, you know. And I'm like, you know what? I ain't letting nobody giving me a funny nickname. If I'm gonna have a nickname, I'm gonna pick my own, you know. So I went with Shark. And so yeah, shark on my chest, and then I tattooed the word shark on my back 2 years later. And after cardiac arrest, I got this guardian angel on my shoulder, right here. You know, this is my wife right here. It's funny because I got her tattooed on me 7 months after we were dating. Most people thought I was just crazy, right? And but I just knew she was the one, and I don't regret it for a second. And so yeah, this is my wife. It says loyalty here. There's another shark. It says love, family. This is a prayer right here. I grew up Orthodox Christian, so this is a prayer from like Orthodox Christian Bible. Rocky statue right here.
Ooh, that's sick.
That's dope.
Yeah, Rocky statue. over here, I have a boxing ring, and it says one day at a time, like one round at a time.
Right.
You know, because you go through life. Life is like it's like a metaphor, like a boxing match. Life is like a boxing match, and you go through a boxing match one round at a time. You know, it doesn't happen all together. Like you just go through it one day at a time, one round at a time. This one says fighter right here. Right above the guardian angel, it says only the strong. That's for only the strong survive. You know, I got that after my fight with cancer. The tribal on my arm, I decided to get it because I believe I got it after my freshman year. Yeah, after my freshman year, I went back to Ukraine and I got this tribal on my arm. And basically the meaning behind it is, so tattooing, I don't know if you guys know, it's ancient type shit. You know, people thousands of years ago were getting tattoos. And the first people to get tattoos were warriors, you know.
They used to burn, didn't they?
I don't know. Some of them were burning, they were getting scarring or whatever.
Like Brandon.
I've seen people do that where you put something in like insanely hot and you burn and it's like a
It's
tattoo.
Brandon,
Yeah,
Is that what it's
yeah.
called?
That's
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
They do that to
No,
like
it's
horses and stuff too.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. Have you guys seen the Yellowstone? They were.
It's
you
like-
watched Yellowstone? How they were getting branded?
Yeah, like they'll put like that's
super
how
extremely hot, like
the
piece of
cattle.
metal. Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
how they used to like claim their cattle,
Yeah.
like if they ever got away.
Yeah.
Like now I think they do like ice actually. They do like really cold.
Oh really?
Instead of really hot. But
Interesting.
Probably dries.
yeah.
So, anyways, tattooing was always like one of the things that I thought was cool, and I was like growing up as a kid, as a teenager, like I was really like fascinated about tattoos and tattooing culture and shit like this. I would watch a lot of documentaries on like warriors in fucking Indonesia getting their first tattoos fucking hundreds of years ago and shit like this. And so for me, it's representation, like I said, ancient warriors were getting these tribal tattoos to like sort of because they believed it would give them spiritual like strength and stuff like this, courage or whatever, going into battle and stuff like this, and to intimidate their enemy in the battle. So for me, it's just the representation of like I'm a warrior, you know, like there's nothing that I may not be the strongest, the most handsome, the fastest, the smartest, but I am for sure like there's nothing that can make me quit. Like you knock me down 9 times, I will get up 10. You knock me down 1,000 times, I will get up 1,001. Like I make mistakes, I fuck up, sometimes I make dumb decisions, but no matter what, I try to get back up and move forward and be better. So this is kind of what it represents for me. On this hand right here, it says Father of Phoenix, so that's self-explanatory. I have a son, he's 2 years old, his name is Phoenix.
Okay.
So I just, you know, it's one of the things that like I'm very proud of, like having a son, overcoming all this, especially after my oncologist telling me that I may never have kids, but I always knew that I wanted kids. I always knew I wanted a son, you know, and God blessed me with it. And I just wanted to, when my wife got pregnant, and as soon as we found out that it was a boy, that's when I got this tattoo. He wasn't even born yet when I got this tattoo. So yeah.
Yeah, my friend just got his first tattoo. Like that's our age. Like and there's another kid in my class that I think it's getting one too. It's like once you reach 18, it's like, you know, you can do it. So
yeah.
Can I ask, is there any significance why it's on your right like fist, I guess, or like I guess I don't know if you want to call it your fist. I guess it's not your fist, but like you're fighter of Phoenix. I didn't know, or is it just like open space? I guess I don't know.
Am I gonna get anything else?
No,
on it?
I meant like sorry.
Like why did you put the tattoo there?
Like there? I guess I imagine that as your fist, but I guess it's not your fist. It's like the back of your hand. But it might be a stupid question. But.
No, I just I was like, where can I put it? When I was like, I knew I wanted to get this exact tattoo, but I was like, where can I put it? Because at that point, a lot of I already have a lot of space covered. I was like, I wanted to get it on the spot where I would see it. It would be visible. So I wouldn't want to get it on my back or my leg or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I would, this is why I decided, I was like, I would want to see it. I would want to look at it like on a daily basis, you know? So this is why I decided to get it right here on my hand.
Yeah.
Another tattoo I have on my stomach, across my stomach, it says champion.
Yeah.
And that's another tattoo that I got basically right after I beat cancer, because I was like, I don't know if you guys heard Muhammad Ali's quote, but he said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was like, man, I went through so much suffering, you know, I went through so much pain. And I was like, when I was going through cancer, I was telling myself, I'm going to beat it and live for the rest of my life as a champion. And so for me, this word champion on my stomach, it's like a championship belt that I get to wear for life, you know, that nobody can take from me, you know. So this is kind of what it represents.
That's cool.
Right.
But yeah, every single one of my tattoos has a meaning. Some of them have some sort of representation like this, or if an event in my life, or something that's important for me, something that, you know, has like a significant meaning for me as a
Yeah.
man, as a person, as a father, as a who I am.
Right.
You know.
Why do you think you were able to get through all these super hard challenges that you faced, and like, why do you think, you know, where's your purpose at? Like, why you're still here?
That's a great question. I believe God wanted me to find my purpose because of this earlier on. I think I would have found my purpose regardless, but because I went through all this earlier in my life, like, I have no doubt that I know what my purpose in this life is now. And it's actually very simple, you know. It's be the best man that I can be to serve others. You know, that's why I'm here, you know, because I really care about making an impact in, you know, in this life, and doing good for people, helping other people, whether it's through my job, because, you know, I help somebody get in better shape or get stronger, build muscle mass, lose fat, become more confident because they're now in better shape, or they learn how to box and they enjoy that, or through anything else, you know. But I believe that the best way for me to maximize that potential and fulfill my purpose is be the best me and lead by example, you know. And that's what I strive to be every day. I just, you know, my people and everybody who I care about and everybody who I cross paths with, if I truly care about maximizing my impact on those people, I need to bring my best self to them, you know. So, and I also believe, like, hypothetical is hypocritical, you know. Like, you know, what kind of person I would be, what kind of man I would be if I were sitting here telling you that, yeah, you know, working out is important, you know, taking care of yourself is important, taking care of your health and your spiritual health and mental health is important, but I was not practicing it. I would be a hypocrite, right? I would be a fraud. So because I truly do care about all those things, I want to exemplify it. I want to lead by example. And, you know, I found purpose in that. And that's how I quit weed and bullshit. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't fuck around. I don't party. I don't hang out with bums. You know, I came on this podcast because, you know, I don't know you guys, but I care about connecting with cool people. I care about connecting with like-minded individuals. I care about like what your guys doing, and your whole the whole vibe of the show is the motive is like motivate people, share stories, right? And you know, that's why I came here, because it is my biggest hope that maybe me, by sharing my story, will inspire somebody, whether it's gonna inspire them to take better care of their health or whatever else. If me sharing my story and sharing my experience and what I talk about can motivate somebody to do better in life, like, isn't that purposeful? You know what I mean? And if I can change somebody else's life, like, think about this. Your purpose is infinite, because if I change one person's life, right? Let's say I change this guy's life and he fucking quits alcohol and drugs and bullshit, starts to work out, starts to, you know, really take care of himself. And this guy has a wife and a kid, for example. He brings a better husband to his wife. He brings a better father to his kid. He brings a better brother to his siblings. He brings a better son to his parents. He brings a better teammate to his coworkers. You know, and chances are him by being that way will inspire somebody else, and they will change. So this is where my impact is infinite. You know, if I can inspire one person, that can spiral into many others. You know, so this is why I do what I do. This is why, you know, I'm thankful to you guys for inviting me and, you know, giving me opportunity to share my story, because this is what's important for me.
That's absolutely amazing, really. I think it's a great place to wrap it up. So
for sure.
I mean, first of all, I really appreciate you coming. Don't thank us. We thank you. I'm definitely hope this story inspires some of our audience, and I definitely know it will, for sure. But yeah.
Thank you for just being so willing to share everything about your story, and, you know, the highs, the lows, and yeah, I'd say I'm definitely inspired, and I really appreciate everything. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Means a lot. Appreciate it.
Guys, Shark Strolling. Go give him a follow on all social media. And the Motive Podcast signing off. Have a great week, everyone. Peace.